The government has announced measures to halt the extinction of our native species. Isabel Ewing joins us now with the detail.
That's right, Yannicka. Greens co-leader James Shaw today released plans for a biodiversity credit system to encourage landowners to protect native habitats on their property. It's a bit like carbon credits in that people and businesses will pay for a credit that will fund conservation projects, saving threatened species. Basically, it's to make sure the land that's outside of the 30% of the country managed by Govt would get the same protections for threatened flora and fauna. But with 75% of Indigenous species at risk of extinction, one private company is already trading biodiversity credits, and the first project to benefit from the funds is proving its value for money.
In the jagged hills between Tairāwhiti and Opotiki, a group of hunters has a pest in their sights that's a bit smaller than their usual targets of deer and pigs.
Stoats have a big impact on whio. They're the #1 predator of whio.
Since starting Eastern Whio Link in 2020, they've built a network of more than 1,000 traps, and the results for whio, or blue duck, have been huge.
In 3 years, we've bred 56 whio chicks off 4 pairs of whio.
These results don't come cheap. Doing it properly costs between $200,000 and $250,000 a year. That's where Carbon Z comes in, a company connecting groups like SAMS with those wanting to invest in nature and promising to take a maximum cut of 10%.
It's not an offsetting scheme where a company can have an impact on nature and then compensate that by buying one of these credits. This is a philanthropic contribution for a business or an individual to make that enables them to connect deeper with nature.
One biodiversity credit costs $200. That pays to trap 100 metres. $2,000 pays to trap a kilometre, and for $6,000 you can trap the entire home range of a pair of whio. That's about 3 k's. 75% of Indigenous reptile, bird, bat and freshwater fish are facing extinction or are at risk of being threatened with extinction. In an effort to halt this, the government just opened consultation on its own biodiversity credit system.
How can we essentially support people to do what they already want to do, which is to be part of the solution?
Conservationists are welcoming the news but cautioning that any biodiversity credit system must ensure the bulk of the funds go to conservation action.
Australia has several different state-run biodiversity crediting systems, and a lot of them have ended up with a massive amount of the project cost being spent on consulting, auditing and verification.
It's really important to us that we have a system that is completely transparent and internationally credible.
The challenge will be creating demand for private investment in a biodiversity credit market. If a voluntary scheme doesn't work, regulation might be required to force businesses to invest.
There's benefits to kiwi. We've got 2 species of bat in here. We've got some beautiful little Hochstetter's frogs. We've got some amazing creatures in the Waiweka.
In native creature currency at least, it's a healthy return on investment.
Well, kia ora, Isabel. So what happens to this credit scheme if there's a change of government?
Well, Mike, this kind of biodiversity credit system just makes so much sense given the rate of loss of our biodiversity. Govt's already running its budgets dry, trying to control pests on Govt land. So this kind of private investment to be unlocked to dealing with pest control and conservation across New Zealand would be hugely beneficial. But we are just over 4 months out from an election, and beyond October 14, there is no guarantee that a national government would implement these changes, particularly the ones around land use, something called significant natural areas, which is a little bit contested over what those mean and what sort of protections there should be on those. They'll want to get farmers' thoughts on that. And so if they can't get farmers across the line, that's the kibosh on that policy. And so a brilliant potential solution to biodiversity loss and our extinction crisis, but one that's very much uncertain.
Thanks for that update. Tēnā koe, Isabel.